Namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang today. Muji ji ki jai. If you're joining us for the first time, know that the way to ask questions is through the chat window. Welcome, welcome. Namaste, namaste, very good. What would you like to talk about? Observe what is happening in this silence. Claire says, surrendering the chooser. Very good, very good. Would you like to talk about this, or is it just something you are throwing into the fire of satsang? Claire says, throwing in. She's throwing it in. Yes. whatever the mind is saying is less meaningful than silence itself. Whatever it is saying, forget about it. Alright, so we have some questions. Cornelia says, is appropriate to ask about the nature of the mind? Yes, why not? So we have discussed this. We have discussed many aspects and the nature of the mind. But at its root, at its core, the nature of the mind seems to be to attempt to create the individual identity, to attempt to create and to perpetuate the individual identity. At the very root, this seems to be the nature of the mind. So the mind refers to us as a separate entity, and once this is believed, that I am separate from the rest, once the duality is believed, then the play starts, then the game begins. And once separateness is believed, then we can easily believe the rest of the mind's concepts as well. Because once we start to believe in ourselves to be a separate individual, then there must be a need to defend. So it becomes about a separate individual and the individual's story about survival and eventually reaching some level of greatness. All of our so-called inspiring stories, if you look at the most popular novels, most popular stories, they are about how individuals have dealt with adversity and ultimately come out on top. So what really happens is that the mind first convinces us that we are separate and then tries to help us to become great and almost godlike. So ultimately what the mind's ambition for us is to become a person god or a godly person. And not a godly person, but you know what I mean. A person who is God himself, as powerful as God, and could have many attributes which could make the person feel like God. It could be money, it could be relationships, It could be the state of the body's health. It could be our work. That is why the ultimate compliment we can give these beings in the world, you will see this often, that many times sports people are called God. So Sachin Tendulkar is called the god of cricket, Messi is called the god of football. So ultimately the mind's goal is to get the person to the point of becoming God. But anyone who sees this, inquires into this for just a few minutes, will see that it is just not possible. Because nothing can replicate the peace, joy and happiness of this pure nothingness. Holding the identity of becoming or trying to become a person God is a very, very heavy burden. And that is why you don't see, even with a lot of success, in any sphere of life, you don't find beings who are happy, peaceful and joyous. The only beings who are truly peaceful are the ones who have got over this or transcended this concept of being a person. And this is true throughout history. There are billions and billions of beings that seem to have been born here, and this is true for all of them. So that is the core of the nature of the mind. And this has many small other attributes which you can ascribe, but the fact is this is the main nature. There are many smaller things, like if you discuss the nature of the mind, you'll see, if you inquire into the nature of the mind, you'll see that even in satsang, I could say 1,000 times that I love you. I could say 1,000 nice things about each of you. But if I was once to say that I hate you, then it will be this one will be more believed. The negative will be more believed. We will always doubt the positive. So if I tell you that I love you, your mind will say, oh, but he's saying it very generally. He's just saying it because there's so much love. He doesn't actually love me. But if I were to say I hate you, then you will not doubt it. You will say, oh, he hates me. This is just one of the attributes of the nature of our mind. But ultimately at the core it is to create this idea of separateness. Okay, Zurem says, yes father, could we talk about the chooser and the sense of choice please? Yes. It's very good that we look at this concept of doership, of choice very deeply, because upon this is one of the main legs of the ego to stand on. Without doership, without the sense of doership, the ego cannot survive. Therefore, the most important question is first to ask that I say that I am the choice maker or decision maker or chooser, but as what am I saying this? Who is the choice maker? What does the choice maker look like? If I'm so clear that I must be making these choices, then we must be clear about I as who. It is only after the belief that I am an individual person can this belief come that I as an individual person am making these choices. But if you slowly look at the process of how the choice is made, you will see that the person is not involved in any way. So we can look for in what is the stage of the choice making where the person gets involved. Even if we were to presume that the person is real, can we figure out how the person actually makes the choice? And we can look at it together if you like. We must look at what is this decision making that we believe that we are doing. In fact, a large part of the satsang we had, in-person satsang we had last Saturday, was about this. So who can tell me how we make a choice? Really slow it down, look at exactly what happens, and then how you make a choice. What is the beginning? What is the beginning of choice making? And we'll give some time for the lag, and I'll wait for your answers. In the meanwhile, let's read what else is there. Cornelia says, so it's a kind of energy wrongly used, so it's better not to use. Yes. That's a nice and simple way to put the energetic way of looking at the mind. Yes. Cornelia says, thank you, something is melting, time to cry. So SK says, first it is confusion or doubt about two choices, which is good for me. Yes. But even before this confusion comes, there must be a thought that is believed in. What is the choice? So if it is about choosing between two jobs, it could be like, I must quit my job or I must join some other place. If this thought had not come, would you be making a choice? Ustream of 56 says, Father, I love you too. Julian says, believe a thought that is telling me I have to do something. Exactly. And now what way did you create this thought? How do you manufacture a thought? What tools do you use to create this thought? Most of humanity believes that they are the creator of their thoughts, that they are the thinker of their thoughts. But we never looked at this very basic thing. In what way did we create it? So we are saying that if the thought had not come, then the concept of this choice would not be there. And what did we do to create this thought? Is it not true that thoughts are flowing on their own? When being is here, then from this being itself, or in the presence of the being itself, thoughts seem to be flowing on their own. Just like the clouds in the sky seem to be coming and going on their own. So believing that I created a thought is just like believing that just because I can see a cloud, I must have created it. Very good. So SK says, that's true. First, belief and thought that says the current situation is not acceptable and change is needed. But I see that this thought is about the person. Very good. All thoughts are referring to you as the person. There is no thought which truly refers to you as being or awareness. Even when it tries to do that, it can only say that as a person you are now beingness, or as a person you are now awareness. Because the mind cannot fathom beingness or awareness. It can only fathom what comes after it. And this is true for all appearances, isn't it? So at the root there is awareness itself. After awareness there is the birth of beingness in awareness itself, made up of awareness itself. And beingness cannot fathom awareness. Because it is prior to it. Then after beingness is there, then the world appears, then first actually the mind appears, and then the world appears. And And since the mind came later, the mind cannot fathom the beingness also. And awareness is completely an unknown concept for the mind. Just like the grandchild cannot talk about the circumstances in which the grandfather was born. He can only speculate. The same way the mind can only speculate about the nature of our being. And when we start believing this speculation, then we call that the intellectual understanding. So what we are saying is, come to your true nature of what you are, which is beyond the speculation of the mind. So coming back to choice, we see that first a thought came. So the thought could be that I must change my job. The real fun starts when a contradictory thought then comes and says, no, you must stay. Then we have the apparent illusion of choice. But we did not create either of these thoughts. It is consciousness itself, in the presence of which these thoughts emerge, and consciousness itself which will pretend to be a decision maker, and consciousness itself through which all the actions will happen irrespective of what the decision was. So we've seen also this many times in our life that we might have decided something, but when the time comes, we do something which is exactly the opposite of that. Therefore, it is only an illusion of decision making, of choice. Life is just unfolding in its own beautiful way. Atma says, yes, Father, I hear you. Thank you. Something censored is very clear. So the first thing to understand is that how can there be a decision maker which is separate if we have seen that the separate person itself does not exist. So with that itself, this concept of decision making or choice should get cut off. But if it doesn't, then we can look deeper into the process of choice making also, and see that it is just a collection of beliefs that we carry about ourselves having to make a decision or a choice. And with this, choicelessness is full power actually. It is not a powerlessness. The mind will convince you that if you are not making a choice, you are powerless. But what it is referring to is the person. A person without choice does not have much meaning. And that's exactly what we are saying in satsang. That we remove this important aspect of false meaning that we have been giving to this person by looking and seeing that all is unfolding on its own. So whatever we feel we must decide, we can forget about it. You can just let it go. Forget about it. If something is convincing you that the real world is separate from the satsang world, and in the real world you need to make some choices, then don't believe that thought. This is just the mind's way of keeping you entangled more and more. Okay, it says I have a poor network connection here. If you can confirm that you are still getting this. Yes, okay, so Ustreamer 56 says, Father, we can relax about our wrong past choices. Yes, completely. That's why I feel that those two phrases are so beautiful. It is Tvam Karta, Tvam Bhokta, which means you are the doer and you are the experiencer. So it is a person who is saying to God, you are the doer and you are the experiencer. In that itself, there's a realization that I as a person am completely powerless. And ultimately the realization will be clear that the person never existed in the first place. But it's a huge step to come to this point of understanding that this power of choices is just not available with a person. Actually, after doership is dropped, it all becomes very, very simple. Because most of our stress, most of our fear comes from this illusion of choice making or decision making. I hope there is some more clarity about this. Okay, the video is good. SK says fear is driving the belief in choices. Fear about future. I see that this future is illusory. Yes. Thank you. So fear can arise momentarily, but the fear is also coming from belief in thoughts. So you're not just talking about an emotional feeling of fear, it is the sense of insecurity which is coming from belief in thoughts about the future. Whose future are we speaking about? How many more years do we have to live in this body? Another 50 years, another 60 years. It is nothing but the blink of an eye. The blink of an eye for the timeless one. Even to say the blink of an eye would not be correct, because for awareness there is no movement of time. Jurim says, putting all this at your feet, Father, very good. Claire says, yes, now. Good, good, good. Lucian says, there seems to be choosing thoughts, but the chooser cannot be found. Exactly. Exactly. Because you as consciousness are saying that I am choosing this. It is only consciousness's game. So the individual chooser, decision maker cannot be found. Claire says, thank you so much, very welcome. Ustreamer 981 says, yes, thank you, good, 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 very good. Ustreamer 56 says, thank you so much, guilt and fear is relieved. Yes, because choice making is not just, this decision making. It is plagued with a lot of other remnants. It's plagued with pride. If something happens to go well, you will feel I made that choice and I'm so great. If something goes badly or seems to go badly, you will say, oh, I'm guilty of making such stupid choices in my life. So in either case, the sense of person gets stronger. The ego seems to get stronger. With this false delusion of choice making. And very simply, when we look at it, with no expectation, when we just look at it, how things happen, you will see that choice making is pure illusion. Jurim says, mind is saying, if you don't make any choice, then you will be in this situation forever. Nothing will change. That's why I say, don't try to change the mind. The mind will always come up with things like this. But even in this, so it is saying the situation will not change. I am saying what is wrong with the right now. Without thinking about the past or future, what is wrong with the right now. Right now has the presence of God Himself. Right now is the presence of your being. Right now is all beauty, joy and peace. So again we say that fire the interpreter. Don't believe what the mind is saying about the now. Atma says, surrendering here to you every possible thought which will ever arise in me. Very good. Yes, you can say it like that, that you can hand over all thoughts, all decisions and all problems, all choices, everything can be handed over to me. It is not your problem anymore. And in places like India, actually, it's very well ingrained, no? Because the instant we call somebody a guru, means that All our problems are theirs now, theirs to deal with, without any expectation of how the life should turn out, because that is only the mind's idea of what our life should be. And life is not that unkind, as my master would say, that it would fulfill your mind's desire about what your life should be. God is not so unkind that He would fulfill only your mind's desire for what your life should be. And you will find one day that there is so much gratitude to the way that life has turned out. Because in this way, you discovered your true nature, your truth, your true self. Streamer 79, very good. All is well, very good. Atma says thank you. Thank you. Ustreamer 56 says, this mind is yours now. Thank you. Yes. It's very good. Very good. To surrender or to renounce the mind is the only seeming thing that needs to be done. Nothing else needs to be renounced. All can unfold as it is, just via the interpreter. Claire says, thank you Ananta, I am happy to surrender all connection to mind and identity, thank you. All choices and decisions and the chooser, the decider, thank you. Very good. Juram says, thank you Father, thank you, very good. Claire says, I wholeheartedly give you my mind. Very good. SK says, whole life I have worked in one profession, so the identity is so much linked to this profession. There is a strong desire to quit or change the nature of job to get out of this identity. So this identity can be got rid of, but also get rid of the identity that you are the one who is deciding anything, or you are the one who can decide anything. Ultimately, it is you as consciousness who is doing all of this anyway. But if you're saying that you as a person must decide to get rid of the identity, then first get rid of the person identity. If you can get rid of an identity, get rid of the person identity. Then the job identity and all other identities can be taken care of later. First you remove the person idea. Throw away the person identity. And how to do that? Simplest way, let go of all your thoughts. And if you feel that there is enough fire for it, then do some self-inquiry. Atma says, how beautiful is to see these surrenderings from many of us. Yes. Cornelia says, I give you all my thoughts. Ananta, very good. Surrender at your feet. Paraphrasing something that the great Saint Kabir ji had said, he said, let the one who has given you this mouth worry about what food must go inside. Which also means that if he has given you this mouth, he will take care of what food will be consumed as well. Don't be fearful of any content that your life might show up in the future. And this does not mean that I am advocating recklessness or you become a rebel of some sort. No, I am only saying keep a neutrality about it. Just be the witnessing itself. Because either desire or aversion, either fear or recklessness, both come from a personal space. Ajnani says, all thoughts to Sangha fire. Very good. Aradhana says, surrendering thoughts, beliefs, identities, this beingness, even the emptiness, and all there is at your feet. Very good. Take this life and may your grace only prevail. Thank you. Very good. When everything that can be surrendered is surrendered, then only I remain. Then only I remain, and this I is not separate from you. Therefore, to say you or I becomes irrelevant. So it's very good. Surrender everything that can be thrown into the fire, throw it in now. Then only pure presence will remain. Claire says, me too. Prema says, Ananta, you are the doer and you are the experiencer. This is beginning to sink in. Thank you. So this you that you are referring to is the own Sadguru in your heart. And it is the same Sadguru which is using this body in satsang and using these words in satsang. And if you truly surrender, then your body also can be just an instrument for the same Sadguru. It is true for all of you. It is nothing special that the words must come from this mouth or this body. When you carry only the holy presence, then the body will also be used, and every step that you take will be satsang for all beings that come in contact with you. And this is also a blessing for all of you. Adnani says, all worries about life to Sangafai, yes. Ustreamer 81 says, very beautiful, thank you. SK says, thank you Ananta, thank you for having so much patience and love. It's my full joy to do this. Ustreamer 79 says, so happy at your holy feet, love, 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 love. You are here, yes. Thank you so much love to you too. Very good. So if there are no burning questions, let's spend 5 minutes in silence together. Don't let the mind distract you now into getting back into some other activities. The silence of satsang is very beautiful. complete freedom is possible for you now. There is no doubt about your true nature here. It is your own mind which can doubt. And all doubts about the Master are ultimately just a reflection of your doubt of your own realization. Your doubt about your own freedom is reflected in this way. All this is just a play for you. You are all there is. You are transcending this play and coming to your complete freedom. No object holds any meaning for you. No external circumstance has any value for you. No thought or emotion mean anything to you. You are the untouched, free one. You are the untouched, free one. If there's only one thing you believe, then let it be this. You are the untouched, free one. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. मुझे जी की जय. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So much love to all of you.